So I'm going to pick up from the last video and go through the lyrics of the song Keeper, which is my favorite song on the album. From a very top level, the song's about gradually coming to terms with the idea of suicide, but underneath it, there's a subtext which is about destroying yourself to set yourself free. The idea for the song was partially inspired by a scene from the movie Inception, where the main character Cobb, played by Leo DiCaprio, meets his wife Mal at a hotel room for their anniversary or something like that. And at this point in the story, she's convinced that they're still stuck in the dream state, so she jumps out of a window and kills herself in order to wake up. For this song, the first verse describes resistance against suicide and reasons to avoid it. We have four prominent examples. So, dig a hole, but worried for our souls, saves us from the grave. Unsheath the sword, but scared of the unknown, stays us from the blade. Walk the ledge, but fear of the end, freezes us on the edge. And the word, when I sang it in the album, it sounds like freeze, F-R-E-E-S, but it's actually freezes, F-R-E-E-Z-E-S. I just didn't really enunciate it properly, but it is written down for you to see. Tie the rope, but hanging by a thread, we pray there's still a chance. So after that, we get to the chorus, and the choruses here are really the focal point for the song. Here we have basically the title of the track, Keeper. The keeper of light leads the way, demonstrating in defiance of faith. So the keeper of light is a reference to Lucifer, which means light bearer in Latin, or morning star, and the meaning of the chorus is basically telling you to follow his example and commit a mortal sin, the defiance of faith. The rest of the chorus, the path to freedom, a price to pay, the cost of life, a fall from grace. So in order to obtain freedom, we have to pay this ultimate price. So the next verse describes basically a gradual transition towards acceptance. Seek escape, but thoughts of afterlife keeps us still alive. Turn to fate, but waiting for the end, our suffering extends. Relieve the pain, but needles in the drink, their powers never last. So here we're talking about different coping mechanisms before finally we get to this line. Release your hand, let go of the past, and fall into the depths. So the next chorus parallels the first one, but this time instead of being about Lucifer, it's about death. The reaper of souls lends his gaze, revealing the path to the immortal plane. So in order to achieve immortality, to ascend to this next level, we have to pass from this one. Feel his touch, end your days, let it take the light away. And of course, it's just talking about death's hand. And this is really where the scene from Inception comes into play. After this part, we get to the clean section. And I have to say about this first part, it's really the only place where I've written lyrics that I honestly have to say I have no idea what they're supposed to mean, and I can't really explain them. This is the lyrics for the clean vocals. Build a home, start a journey, find a reason, let it go. The whole point of this was it was written to parallel the next section, which keeps in line with the song. And even though there's really no meaning as to what it is, it still somehow feels right. It fits in with what's going on. So we get to the when the distortion kicks back in. Lose all hope, watch it burn, commit self-treason, free your soul. And I think it's a pretty straightforward line. After that, we get to the end section. Again, clean vocals come back. And we get back to basically the four examples from before, except this time, instead of resistance, it's talking about going through the act. So, dig a hole, dreaming of the path, leads us to the grave. Unsheath the sword, weary of the wrath, we drag along the blade. Walk the ledge, gravity's strength pulls us off the edge. Tie the rope, hanging by the neck, a smile on our lips. And I think that's a really great line to just end the song on. So that's Keeper. For some extra notes I want to add, I did write this song as well as the rest of the demo and also the Insomnia album when I was in a pretty bad place. And that's why I think this is a good example of how music is really about interpretation, and that the meaning of a song can really change based on your perspective. The song was once, when I originally wrote it, it was about the idea of a literal suicide to end suffering, just like how, like a DSBM song would be like. But now when I listen to it, it's about more of a metaphorical suicide to set yourself free. So that Inception image, we take Cobb's wife, we take her side where she really wants to get back to what she thinks is the real world from the dream state, and that's what brings her to jump off of the building. But here, what I really mean is destroying the part of you that's holding you back, whatever is limiting you from achieving a higher level. Now, I've talked about philosophy in the past, and I'm actually planning on making another one of those videos, a better one, now that I have a clear idea of just, things. But I'm going to end this one with a bit of philosophy as well. The concept of destroying yourself to become better, it's sort of like rising from the ashes. It has been around for a while, and a good example, one I want to point to right now, is in the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche, which is basically the existentialist's Bible. The passage I want to point to is my favorite one, and possibly the most important in the first section. It's called On the Way of the Creator. So the central idea of this book, just as a quick summary, is that we have to overcome our humanity, which is described as sort of this limiting factor, in order to reach this transcended state called the Overman, the Übermensch. And that's what the central figure Zarathustra has achieved. He's a hermit who sort of lived in a cave on top of a mountain. And in this passage, he basically describes what happens to someone who lives in isolation for a long time. So it goes like this. One day, solitude will make you weary. One day, your pride will cringe and your courage will gnash its teeth. One day, you will cry, I am alone. One day, you'll no longer see your high and your low will be all too near. Your sublimity itself will frighten you like a ghost. One day, you will cry, everything is false. So basically what he's describing is just an experience with the concept of nihilism, which many people interpret as a negative view of the world. I've talked about before how I see it as more of a neutral statement, but I will go into more detail on that later. For now, I'm going to continue. There are feelings that want to kill the lonely one. If they do not succeed, then they must die themselves. But are you capable of being a murderer? So what he means here is that you either have to destroy your weaknesses through the figurative suicide that I talked about, or you end up succumbing to them and you end up letting them destroy you, and that would then be the literal suicide. Now, the most interesting thing about all this is I didn't really start reading any of this stuff until after the demo came out, so this wasn't an influence. But since then, the ideas really have helped me move past the original mindset that I was stuck in at the time, and it's definitely a reason that led towards what would become my transition towards the third album, Rebirth, and also Origins, which is more or less an extension of Rebirth, much like how Insomnia is kind of an extension of the demo. But as for all that, I'm going to get there eventually. There's a lot of songs to go through, and I'm taking a bit of time going through this, but I'm really trying to figure out what I want to do next in terms of how I want to run this channel with videos and especially with lessons. For now, this is Keeper. There's one more song to finish off the demo, and that's Reflections. That's coming soon.